Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Valetta. Let's check it out. Okay, before I talk about setup, I should mention that you would have more rows of cards in the game, moving down and moving up, but just for the purposes of this video, to get everything in one shot, I wanted to keep it like this, so you can see the player board and all the extra supplies too. What it is each player is going to put their player pawn at the start of the scoring track here and move up and down the track. They're also going to get their own player board, their own little deck of cards. Everyone gets the same cards. They'll pick all the cards with the little emblem, with their little player token, and everyone should have the same amount of cards. They're going to pick up some house tokens here, and then, like I said, you're going to put Jean Jean Valetta is what I'm going to call him. The purple. No one gets to play purple. This is Jean Valetta, and he's going to start here on the player order track there. Now, you're going to lay down some of the big cards and then lay some small cards down on each one of them. And of course, like I said, there's tons of more smaller cards, people cards, and houses cards in this game. So you'll mix it up. It'll always be different, and you do mix up in these 5 rows that I have like this. Of course, you'll add more rows horizontally to it. But how the game is going to start off is very simple. You have a couple of resources you're going to be using in the game. It is gold, brick, stone, and wood. And what you're going to be doing is, on your turn, you're going to shuffle this deck and put it right here where the door is. And then you're going to draw 5 cards. And from these 5 cards, you're going to look at them and put 3 of them out to play, and then discard the other ones where the door is open. Now, let me show you what some of these cards do. Some of them are very simple, like take 1 coin, take 1 stone, take 1 wood, take 1 brick, take 1 of any one of these goods. Another one is the builder. He lets you upgrade or build or upgrade 1 building. When you play the builder, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the card and pay the resources needed. So for instance, for this one, it requires 4 coin, 2 wood, and 3 stone. So if you had that, you would first off take this card, add it to your discard pile because it's going to go into your deck now. This is like a deck builder. And then you're going to place your little house and put it right there to show it's yours. Now, once you claim the card, no one else can get it. If you ever want to upgrade, if you notice the builder said you can upgrade a building, how you would do that is all you'd have to do is pay not the coin, but just the resources. If you were to pay the resources again, because you already bought the building, you'd flip this over and it goes from 4 victory points to 8. It doubles the victory points at the end of the game. These points are scored at the end of the game. So that's the advantage of buying and upgrading buildings. Buying them gets you additional cards you can play and put in your hand, and then upgrading them will get you additional victory points at the end of the game. Now, the other 2 cards here that everyone has is the apprentice. He basically copies the last card you played if it's red or green. So if it's one of these green cards, he could copy that. If it's one of the red cards, which a lot of yours are the red cards here, it would copy that. So for instance, if I played this handmaiden and then the apprentice next in my 2 and 3 spots here, the handmaiden would pick any good and the apprentice would pick any good of their choice. That's a very common matchup that you have there. That's what the apprentice does. And finally, there is Jean Valetta. Jean Valetta. What you have to do with him, what you have to do is advance him 1. Advance him on the barrel track. There's a bunch of barrel tokens you set out here, and they're all random, and when you move him up, he has to be moved up 1, and he takes the barrel token, and then you look at it, and that's the resource you get. And they have all the resources on here. It's going to be one of the 4 resources, and so you take that resource and add it to your pile. Now, what he is counting as is 2 things. One is a round tracker or a game ending mechanism. If he makes it to the end of the track, the game is over. Another way to get to the end of the game is for one player to place out all of their houses. But anyway, another thing that Jean Valetta is good at, wherever row he is, as you see, this is divided into 5 sections here and 5 spaces on the board. Wherever he is, you're going to get 2 additional victory points for building in that area. So right now, if he's there, if I would have built here when he's there, I'd have gotten immediately 2 victory points and could score it. So it kind of forces you to play or build maybe on that row. And especially if you keep moving them up, Then if he's here, then anything on this area will get 2 points. No longer here. And as I said, as he goes up to the track, even if he makes it 1 over into that next area, then that means the third row here, anything built there will give you an additional 2 victory points. So that's a really cool thing for him. So I should mention, any time in the game it has this 3 for 1. You know what that means. You can exchange any 3 resources for 1 of another resource. So what you're going to be doing, gathering resources, building up your hand of your deck of cards, doing really good combos of getting victory points or getting more resources and buying more buildings and upgrading them and getting more victory points. The other thing I should mention that Jean Valetta does is you can hire or fire a character from your hand. Firing someone is basically just, you know, kind of cutting down on your deck size. If there's cards that you don't really like or you hate when they come up, you can, when you play Jean Valetta, you can discard that into a discard pile. Now, you can also hire anyone that other players have discarded from the discard pile, but the discard pile always starts with 4 builders, 4 additional builders. So if you wanted to hire an extra builder, you could, or you could hire someone that someone else maybe has fired in the game. And that's a maybe action. You don't have to do that, but you have to advance him on the track. So again, gathering resources, buying buildings, getting cards, upgrading those buildings, scoring points. Like I said, when he reaches there, if you reach the end of the track, by the way, I should mention they have these little victory point markers here. You grab it and then go back to 1 again and grab the 25-point marker. If you do it over again, you'll flip this over for 50. If you do it again, you'll get that 75 token, which of course flips open over to 100 if you can even get that high. But if you make it to the end of the track in the middle of the game, you just go back again and grab one of those victory point trackers. So when the game ends, then you're going to add up all of your buildings that you have in the game. That's the last round. Add up any building points and any resources that you have. For every 7 resources that you have, you can cash those in for 2 victory points. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most victory points wins. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Well, to be honest, I hate deck builders. And when I found this was resource gathering / deck building. And I knew that. I checked it out. I was like, I read about it. It's like, well, and one of the BGG things where it said, hey, if you like this game, you'll love this game. I said, really? Will I? And it was super cheap online. So I was like, well, why not? If not, I'm just out $10, which it's 10 to 15 bucks. I can't remember how much it was. It was really cheap. Anyway, so it came in. I was like, oh, that's a bunch of cards. I'm not really feeling this. This is going to be a deck builder. Man, it's a great game. It's one of the best games I've added to my collection this year. That's how much I love the game. When my friends played this game, they got up and they went, this is an incredible game. We need to play this again. And that rare, I mean, they love a lot of my games, but when they say, we want to play it again right now, can we do it over again? That's when you know it's a great game. So even my gaming group really, really loves this game. And this one just impressed us all. Now you may say, well, Matt, it's not much, but resource gathering and, you know, card deck building, and that seems to be about it. Yeah, it is. But where you place, and I'm going to butcher his middle name, so Jean Valetta, you know, wherever you put him, you say, oh, I don't want to move him across the track. That'll end the game sooner. Man, a lot of times the game ended, every time we play, the game is ended where someone places their last house. That's usually how the game ends. However, there were times we forcefully moved Valetta down the track because we wanted to get those 2 extra victory points. And they may not be nothing, but you start watching where he is because you're like, man, if I can move him one on the next turn, then I get 2 victory points for something I already wanted and already have the resource for. The way you build your deck. There was one guy who he figured it out. One of my buddies figured it out. He was making tons. If you get the colored houses you pick, some cards will impact that. And when he had a card that gave him 1 of any resource he wanted for however many green buildings he had, he went and started scoping out all the green cards on the game and just went and zeroed for them. While we're playing, I'm looking at the ones where only Jean Valetta's on, trying to get those extra victory points. And then other people are just looking for cards that they say, ooh, I kind of like that card. I want to add that one to my deck. So I'm going to work on getting that one. We all had different strategies. Now, the first game we played was probably the most epic. I remember I was just stealing ahead because I had these 2 victory point cards. I was building wherever Jean Valetta was. I was building right there, getting those extra 2 business cards. And I didn't buy many buildings, but the ones I built were the big point ones. So when I upgraded them, they went from a 4 to an 8. And I was like, okay, I'm sitting pretty good, but I still need to get ahead because everyone else had almost all their buildings out. Well, at the time we added everything up, I won by 1 victory point until we read that extra rule that 7 goods equal 2 victory points, and my buddy had exactly 7. And he beat me. And it was just like, it was one twist after the next. And when that's your first game, every other game hasn't been as close. It has been pretty close, meaning between 2, 3, 5 points, I think, has been the biggest win. And that's the biggest win. And the thing is, though, it is between first and second. That's incredible. Don't let the simplicity of the game fool you. I think there is a lot of game in here, and I absolutely adore this game. Honestly, one of the best games I have put in my collection this year, and that is the truth. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, you know what to do. Game on!